On March 4, 1918, a 542-foot naval vessel carrying 309 people radioed one final message, then simply ceased to exist. What makes the Cyclops' disappearance so peculiar isn't the mystery itself, it's what happened in the weeks before. The ship's captain, Lieutenant Commander George Worley, had been reported to command with an iron fist bordering on instability. Crew members noted his erratic behavior, his sudden rages. And then there's this detail: the ship was overloaded, dangerously overloaded. We're talking about 800 tons of manganese ore, a cargo so heavy the vessel sat low in the water, riding far deeper than design specifications allowed. The Cyclops left Barbados on February 16th, bound for Baltimore with a crew of 306 and 3 passengers. For the first 2 weeks, everything appeared normal. Standard radio reports, routine position updates. But here's where the timeline gets interesting. On March 4th, the ship transmitted its last message. Not a distress call, not even a warning, just nothing. The silence that followed would become the United States Navy's greatest unsolved peacetime mystery. Now, before we count down what really happened to the Cyclops, understand the context. We're in 1918. World War I is raging. German U-boats are prowling the Atlantic, sinking merchant vessels and warships alike. The natural assumption, the one the Navy made immediately, was that a submarine had gotten her. But here's the problem with that theory, and it's crucial. No German U-boat captain ever claimed responsibility. Not during the war. Not after. No wreckage was ever found. No bodies washed ashore. For over a century, people have blamed the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Triangle, the graveyard of ships. But the Cyclops' disappearance predates that entire mythology. The Bermuda Triangle legend didn't really take hold until the 1960s, decades after the ship vanished. So what we're really asking is, what made the Cyclops different? What made her vanish when hundreds of other ships crossed those same waters safely? Let's count down the 5 most credible explanations. And I want to emphasize, these aren't conspiracy theories. These are scenarios naval historians and oceanographers have seriously examined. Each one is grounded in documented facts, maritime records, and the physics of what a ship can endure. Number 5, structural failure due to overloading. The Cyclops was built in 1910. She was a collier, a cargo ship designed to carry coal, not manganese ore. Manganese is denser, heavier. Loading 800 tons meant the ship's hull was stressed beyond its engineering limits. The metal fatigues, the rivets weaken. One catastrophic failure in the cargo hold, and a ship riding that low in the water would sink in minutes. No time for distress signals. No time for lifeboats, just gone. But here's what keeps that theory from being definitive. Other colliers carried similar loads. The Cyclops had completed dozens of voyages before. Why would she fail on this particular trip? Unless something else was wrong. Unless the captain knew something about the ship's condition and never reported it. Number 4, a rogue wave or sudden storm. The Cyclops was traversing the Sargasso Sea, a part of the Atlantic known for unpredictable weather patterns. A rogue wave, a sudden squall, a waterspout, these are documented phenomena. A single massive wave could capsize a ship riding as low as the Cyclops was. Weather records from March 1918 show a storm system in the region around the time of disappearance, though nothing catastrophic. Still, ships vanish in bad weather all the time. The issue with this explanation is that modern naval analysis suggests the Cyclops should have been able to weather a normal storm. And if it was truly catastrophic, a once-in-a-generation event, we'd expect to hear about other ships in the region reporting damage. We don't. The Cyclops vanished alone, which points to something more specific. Number 3, sabotage or mutiny. Captain Worley's behavior had deteriorated significantly by the voyage's end. Crew members reported he'd become paranoid, unpredictable. There were whispers of mutiny. Could someone have deliberately damaged the ship? Could a disgruntled crew member have sabotaged the cargo hold? It's possible, but mutinies typically leave traces, survivors with stories, bodies, evidence. The Cyclops left none. What's more compelling is that if there had been a mutiny or sabotage, someone would have known. Someone would have talked. And yet, from 309 people aboard, 309, not a single survivor, not a single piece of wreckage bearing witness ever surfaced. That kind of silence is almost impossible to engineer. Number 2, a German U-boat attack, despite the lack of admission. This remains the US Navy's official position. Germany had U-boats operating in the Atlantic throughout 1918. The Cyclops was a military vessel carrying strategic cargo. It's plausible a U-boat captain attacked, sank the ship, and simply never reported it, either due to his own death in combat or because he wanted to avoid post-war prosecution. U-boats did sink ships without claiming credit. We know this from captured logs. But this theory also has a problem. A U-boat torpedo leaves evidence. Oil slicks, debris fields, life rafts, bodies. When the USS Housatonic was torpedoed by a U-boat in 1864, yes, the Civil War survivors made it to lifeboats, they were rescued. When the Lusitania was sunk in 1915, over 700 people died, but 761 survived. The Cyclops, 0 survivors. 0 wreckage, 0 evidence of any attack. And here we arrive at number 1, a catastrophic structural failure triggered by a combination of factors: overloading, possible unrepaired damage to the hull, and a sudden stress event, whether weather or a collision with an uncharted object. This is the explanation that most modern maritime historians and naval engineers have settled on. It's not sensational. It doesn't involve mysteries or conspiracies. It's just physics. Here's what makes this explanation compelling. We have documented cases of ships failing catastrophically under similar circumstances. The Titanic, though a different disaster, showed us that structural failures can happen faster than anyone expects. A ship riding dangerously low in the water, with metal fatigue in rough seas, carrying cargo that shouldn't have been loaded the way it was, that's a recipe for disaster. Not a mystery, a tragedy waiting to happen. The Cyclops sank quickly, in minutes, before a distress signal could be sent, before lifeboats could be launched, before anyone could escape. The ship went down in deep water in a region with strong currents. Any wreckage dispersed, any bodies sank. The ocean kept its secret not because of the Bermuda Triangle or any supernatural force, but because the Atlantic Ocean in 1918 was vast and unforgiving and full of wrecks nobody would ever find. What's remarkable about the Cyclops isn't that she vanished. It's that we expected her not to. We expected a 542-foot ship carrying 309 people to leave a trace, and when she didn't, we invented stories. The Bermuda Triangle, supernatural forces, alien abductions. We needed the mystery to be bigger than the simple, brutal truth. Sometimes ships sink, sometimes people die, and sometimes we never know exactly why. The USS Cyclops remains the largest warship ever lost without a trace. She's a footnote in most history books, a curiosity, but to the families of those 309 people, to the wives and children and parents waiting in Baltimore for a ship that never arrived, she was everything. And that absence, that silence, that's the real story. Subscribe for weekly deep dives into history's strangest disappearances and the facts behind the legends.